This is all about the number three in your soul contract chart or someone's soul contract chart. So today we're going to talk about if you have a 3-3 or just three energy in general. The other places you could find it is you could have a 12-3 or a 21-3, but we'll talk about those later. So a three is a master number, and that means it's either really positive or really negative, depending on where it is. So if it's in one of your karmic areas, it's going to be really negative and it's going to be hard to overcome. If it's in one of your talent areas, then it's going to be pretty beneficial for you. It's also a double meaning number, so it means going from poverty to wealth. So that could mean going from actual money, like no money, to having money, or you might have money, but your inner world is in a state of poverty. The key word for the three energy is unworthiness. So it's healing this deep unworthiness lodged in your subconscious that is going to be driving some of the negative aspects of this number three. The planet for the number three is Mars. That's the energy. And the body part is the right ear. So that may, when people speak in your right ear, it may trigger this unworthiness. So if you're having a conversation with someone and it's something personal or delicate, have them speak in your left ear, and that might make it a little bit easier for you. In the karmic area, it's like I said, this unworthiness, this is what you're going to be dealing with. So it's deep in your subconscious. You may not know it's there. I know I didn't until I started working on this, but in your outer world, it could look like racking up a bunch of debt. So you're spending money on things you don't really need, and you don't really know why you're spending money either. You just know you're spending money. You could be shy and not able to express yourself in a confident way, and you're always worried about how things are going to look. How, if you do something, you're really worried about how it's going to look to other people and, how they're going to think about you. So that also goes for things that, like, let's say you found something really interesting, you might be afraid to share it with people for fear that it turns out to be like something stupid or not good or whatever. Like, that would be devastating for you if you shared something with somebody else and it turned out not to be a good thing, and then you would obviously think it was going to reflect back on you, and that would just be terrible. You could be like a martyr, impatient, stubborn, and you also may be blocked sexually with this number. And you also, not only do you underestimate your ability to teach, it's not even in your realm of possibilities. You would never ever say, "Oh yeah, I'd be a great teacher." But the thing with it being in your karmic area is you have to move over to that place where you are teaching. So that's your goal. A lot of times you don't even know what you feel. And then if you do figure that out, you have trouble expressing it. There's just no way, there's no good way for you to express that, even if you did figure it out. You might also, I know I do this too. I have a 3 in my chart. You might also feel like when you walk into a room, no one notices you. So you could walk in, you might think you're noticing other people, and other people get noticed when they walk into a room, but when you walk in, no one notices. So that also stems from that deep unworthiness. And like I said, you have to become a teacher of some kind. That's how you work through this. Well, there'll be other things that we'll talk about how you'll work through this, but teaching is a big one because in a talent area, you are a teacher. And it's more about just like regurgitating information. You teach, like, you're connected. You're connected to your soul, is connected to the higher power. and the energy and the ideas and all that is flowing. So it's teaching, but more than just here's how to do something from a book or something. You also love to perform. You're very intuitive, creative, expressive. That's another thing that you would struggle with, as if it was in your karmic area, is being expressive and vocal. So you love performing, singing. You are a leader, and you're courageous, and you also have willpower. You also have this need to share things that you learn with other people. And even if that's sharing money or your possessions, you actually really get a lot of joy from doing that. And then just like the up in the karmic area, you might be blocked sexually, but in the talent area, you have an interest in sexuality that is more than most people would have. And a goal of a 3 energy would be to become a teacher. And again, it doesn't have to be a conventional teacher, just a teacher of some kind. And your goal is to move from this poverty to wealth by overcoming the unworthiness. And then you're going to awaken sexually also as you overcome this unworthiness. And then the soul destiny is very similar to the goals. So you're going to be a teacher of some kind, and you're going to do all the things that we talked about in the goals. If you have a 3 in a karmic area and you need some help transforming this into more positive traits, first you're going to have to obviously heal the unworthiness. But how do you do that? So this unworthiness came from a long time ago when you were little. Father, mother, caregiver, all of the above made you feel unworthy. It gets lodged in your subconscious. Your ego protects you by, maybe the shyness or the people pleasing or however that manifests. But underneath it all, driving this whole show is this unworthiness. And I remember reading the book, The Body Keeps the Score. And at the end of it, he talked about theater as a way to heal from trauma. And I thought, oh, that sounds terrible. I was at a point in my life, this was a while ago when I read this, and I was at a point in my life where I thought, that is not something I can do. But as I've started to work through this whole soul contract stuff, I get what they're talking about now. Because I've actually, I'm doing these things. I would have never thought in a million years I'd be posting something because of that really huge fear I had of someone thinking poorly of me. Like they're not going to like what I'm doing. It's going to be terrible. And it's almost like death, it feels so terrible that there's no way you're going to put yourself in that. But as you're healing, you're going to start moving into different areas. So as far as this theater stuff goes, it's about expression. So even if that means you're adopting a character's emotions and using your own body to express them, eventually you're able to reach and express your own emotions. So that's the premise behind theater. But this, getting over this unworthiness, is all about being able to express yourself. And that also has to do with expressing emotions. So this stuff has been bottled up for so long inside of you that you probably really don't express a lot of emotions. So when an emotion comes up, you just, no matter what it is, where you are, you have to let it flow. And that also involves crying. So if you're one of those people who just doesn't cry, as you start working on these things, at least this was my experience too, as you start working on some of these things, you're going to start crying more, and for really no reason. It's just going to show up, and you don't know what drove it, but you just accept it. You let the tears flow. You just let that expression of that sadness come out. So this, once you open these floodgates, you may have a lot of different emotions coming out, because now you've got movement. So the goal is movement. You need to get all this stuck crap out of your subconscious and your body and move it out. So express any emotion that comes up, no matter what it is or where. And I don't know if you have people in your life. If you don't, one of the things you can do is remember that, you are loved, that God loves you, the universe loves you, your angels, guides, loved ones up there, they love you. And one of the simplest things you can do when you're feeling this, unworthiness, because now you're gonna be able to start to recognize it. And some of the simplest things you could do is just say, God loves me. And it's quite effective. It really does. You can feel it in your body. So try that too. And the last thing you're going to have to do is get a handle on your finances. So I have loved this, because I was one of those people buying things for like future Terry, or, for no reason. And then I'd get it home and I'd think like 6 months later, why did I even buy that? I don't even like that. So you have to start asking yourself every time you're getting ready to hit the button on that, checkout thing, say, why am I buying this? Do I really need this? So that's, the unworthiness just does it without thinking. But now you're going to challenge the unworthiness, and you're going to say, why are we doing this? And chances are, if you can't come up with an answer once you start asking these questions, then it was driven by your unworthiness. And so now great, I don't need to order this. That's fantastic. You also have to not hoard your money either, because a lot of times you'll be really crazy about spending money, but you'll also be really crazy about hoarding onto it too. Or hoarding it and holding onto it. That's probably a better way to say that. So you have to be able to give money away freely with no strings attached. So if you're saying, oh, great, I got to go do this, but if you do it and you don't want to do it and you don't feel good about doing it, then that's not the energy that you want. So money is energy, and you want to have a good feeling about money, and you want money to have a good feeling about you. So get used to, you don't have to give what you can't afford, but just little things here or there. And when you do it, just make sure that you're checking in with yourself and saying, is this something I really want to do? Is this I'm not doing this out of guilt or anything. This has a really good feeling. My heart's in it. This is what I want to do. So just try that too. If you haven't calculated your numbers yet, the video will pop up here after we get done, and you can go learn how to calculate your numbers. And then there'll also be a link to my website. If you don't want to calculate it, you're thinking, oh, that sounds terrible, I can calculate it for you and then give you a report and some support ideas for whatever you have in your chart. All right. Thanks for listening.